Hello and welcome to 360 Gamercast, episode 205 for Tuesday, the 30th of April, 2024. I'm your host, Mark Webb, Gamertag, Pearson ID, Steam ID, Webby360G, and joining me on this very fine evening is...
It's G-Ham Ox 14, or Graham as he's otherwise known.
And Stellar Switch.
Yeah, well, at least someone's bought it. It's been causing quite a bit of controversy this week, as Stellar Blade I've seen on the old social media.
Shocking.
I know.
Who knew?
I've been following it with great interest. And one thing, Darren, that has caught my interest with it is before it come out, there was loads of stuff online. People, the devs and everyone was saying, you know, this game's going to come out. It's not going to be censored in any way. And lo and behold, a day one patch rolls out and censors it. Now, from what I've been seeing online, this was all down to Sony, not the publishers and developers. It was actually Sony forced them to put out this patch to censor some items in the game. So one of them was there's a shop in the game called R, and in front of so there was a screenshot floating around the internet, and I think that it's the same graffiti outside all the shops as well. I'm not 100% on that because I don't have the game.
No, it's just the one. It's just in one area. Like I've literally actually seen it.
Okay. So outside the shop, it's called R, has a letter R on top of it, like lit up, and then the graffiti in front of it said hard, and a load of, shall we say, left-leaning. I wouldn't call them journalists because they're not. Say some of the gaming sites like IGN were complaining about this on Twitter, saying it was racist. And I was sitting there thinking, how the fuck is hard R racist? Like, what the fuck is this about? I really don't. So apparently, I mean,
I did explain it in the group.
Yeah, you explained it to me, and I'm not going to say it on thing, but it's the N word. It's meant to mean the N word, right? And I was sitting there, and then when Darren explained that to me, I even thought that doesn't make any sense to me at all. And even Americans themselves have been saying on the interwebs, on social, saying, I've never heard this myself. This is insane. Anyway, so that's been patched out, and the graffiti now says crime instead.
They just moved it. There's two sort of pieces of graffiti that kind of repeat crime and hard. I don't know why. Okay. People obviously lack imagination.
Yeah.
Like, if it was graffiti, it'd just be like a fucking dick and balls or something, you know what I mean? It's just the usual thing.
So, there's that. And then obviously one of the big things about Stellar Blade is obviously the character herself, quite a buxom young lady, very revealing outfits, which you can change. And apparently some of the outfits have been slightly altered to cover more skin since the patch has come out as well. So there's one called...
Oh, shock.
Yeah, so there's one, I think it's like the bunny suit or something I've been reading. It's like a pre-order bonus, I think. And you can still access it if you buy the disc version of the game and don't connect your PlayStation to the internet. Yeah, so you don't update, so you still get all the original stuff. So people have been putting screenshots online of the before and after. And yeah, it's quite a difference from what I've seen. So
I mean, I don't actually get it. Like, it's pointless because there's other outfits in the game that are far more revealing than the ones that they've actually... I mean, you got the skin suit, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah. And then they go and do that. It seems bizarre. Yeah. Whether it is intentional, I do not know. The two outfits that I've seen, or the only two that have been spotted that have been slightly altered,
yeah,
both look worse. after the alterations.
Yeah.
Like, they look off. Like, it literally looks like someone has come in and gone, I'll just add this bit there and do that bit there.
Yeah.
Rather than actually changing the whole outfit, it's like, oh, we've put on stuff underneath it, and it doesn't match or fit. It does look weird.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so I was just following it with great interest this week because obviously it's a game that I really enjoyed the demo, but obviously I've not picked it up because I'm trying to not spend money on games at the minute when I've got loads of other games to play. But it's just a little bit. I mean, I've got a couple of opinions on it. Right? On one hand, I mean, it's an outfit. I'm not really that bothered, but on the other hand, I'm like, what are the reasons for them doing this? There's got to be reasons, right? And it just slaps to me of Sony doing their usual and trying to appease the certain gaming demographic of whingers on social media.
But
And
I've never understood
odd.
that, because you've got so many different outfits in the game that you can choose. So if you don't want to run around in something as revealing, you don't have to.
Yeah. 100%
It
agree,
kind of
mate.
doesn't particularly. It's a very, very bizarre one. Like, the only thing I can think of is like them sort of like, oh well, you've got to make some sort of concession or change because we demand it, and they're like, oh, is this okay?
Yeah.
But then you've heard them sort of saying, oh no, that was our choice to do it, blah blah blah, and it's kind of like, so it's like the equivalent of someone sort of coming out and saying to you who works or who's under a big corporation, being like, oh no, we wanted to do that, like, because they have to say that.
I mean, one of the things that I do agree with what I've seen some comments online saying is obviously people have played the demo and seen all the trailers, and it's like the game was sold as one thing, because if you wanted to buy the game to look at a lady not wearing very much, and then you buy it and then it gets patched, so obviously
it's not even really that.
It's just a bit shitty.
There's other games that do it more. In fact, if you want to watch a woman like play a game with a naked fucking person in it, actually getting fucked, go and play The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah.
It's in that full frontal nudity. The fucking works, mate. But yeah, if it seems to be an Asian game where they're not even exposing any like sexual parts or anything, it's like, no, you can't have that. Yeah. That's kind of, I think, the double standard where people are getting annoyed.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, in theory, you're making a huge fuss over this when you've put out something from one of your beloved studios that's fucking far worse.
Yeah.
And you didn't ask them to also. Could you imagine someone going to Naughty Dog, oh, tone that down, change that?
Yeah, they get called
like they fucking kick right off, because it's like, no, this is our vision, this is what we want, this is our story. I mean, they crafted that terrible story, and they will obviously defend it. And hell, like, yeah, fair enough, go have it. I wouldn't want you to change it. That's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what I'm finding is, you know, Japanese, Asian games or whatever, they always have good-looking women revealing outfits, you know, going back into the beginnings of time for video games. But it seems to be in the last 10 years or so, there seems to be this Western outcry of good-looking women in games. Oh, well, you can't have that. Oh, no. And it's like, what? I just don't get it.
No.
So, yeah, it's just a bit odd, you know.
Yeah, the other thing that is sort of like probably more egregious than them adding a couple of little bits to outfits was the fact that they kind of toned down the gore in the game as well.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, so there's times when you obviously finish off certain enemies and stuff, and obviously the blood's showering all over the place, and your character gets coated.
Oh, right.
Now your character barely gets touched by any of it, and if it does, it kind of just wipes off quickly.
Yeah.
And then you look at your game box and you're like, oh, this is an 18 game, apparently. Like, 18 rated game, and then they tone down things that would make it an 18.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still a game I'll probably, excuse me, pick up at some point. But it's just a little bit shitty that they would do that, I think. Sony, what are you doing?
Well, it's funny. Like, the other thing I've got to laugh at partly is the fact that the game was like coming out and Sony were behind it, and a lot of us, like people like including myself and that, were like, have Sony finally realised how to actually make money and get people back on their side and try and bring back some of the fans that they've pissed off like since the PS3 generation.
Yeah.
And then this game was it. This was the beacon where everyone's like, oh, they might be returning to their roots. We might actually be starting to get this. And then some fucking idiots come in and gone,
Yeah,
no, we're still the same shitty company that you actually thought we were. This one just kind of fell through the cracks a little bit.
This needs to come to PC. The mods will sort it out.
Yeah, again, there's kind of rumours that it's not.
Nah.
Because they know that it would get modded and hacked and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like, there'll be far more than outfits like that they'd have to worry about. It would be like pretty much no outfits whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, I just... It's just frustrating because, as you say, it was marketed as this game. And yeah, part of it was the appeal of the woman not wearing very much, but we've had so many games like that in the past anyway, it's not really much to think about. And, you know, a good fighting game, well, a good exploration with good combat game from all accounts from reviews I've seen anyway, apart from the one review from IGN, funnily enough. But, you know, I thought from what I had seen before, yes, it's, you know, we're finally turning a corner here with video games and Sony are finally sorting it out. But no, you know, last minute, bloody day one patch because of Sony, they're just like ruining games again.
I mean, it hasn't ruined the game. It's just disappointed a lot of people, and it makes you just know that, no, this is the same Sony that it's always been.
Yeah.
If they were actually forced, if it was the devs actually making the choice themselves to change the outfits, it feels strange. But if it was them, fair enough. That's up to them.
Yeah.
And if so, they should come out and blatantly say in a big statement, no, this was not Sony. Whatever you think, whatever you do, this is not Sony. Do not blame them.
Yeah.
Which Sony would love.
Yeah.
For them to do and come out and be like they're white knighting us and all the rest of it. So like, yeah, they're on our side. But I guarantee you, there's probably been some frustrating back and forth. I mean, it's been like this with loads of stuff. We already know that the Senran Kagura franchise was basically destroyed because Sony wanted Senran Kagura 7 to be like a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah. And
then the whole Me Too movement happened, and like the fucking nonsensical bullshit crap that goes on in today's society started all kicking off like real time. And then the game was basically scrapped because Sony California and Sony Japan just weren't communicating properly, and in the end the director got so frustrated he left the company.
Yeah.
And just went, oh fuck it, and the game still hasn't actually appeared. Now if they were to release Stellar Blade completely uncensored, as it were, and the game would have been a huge, massive success, possibly, they could have then gone back and revisited Senran Kagura and obviously got more people back on their side.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just something like I thought was quite interesting this week anyway, to be fair. So we'll see where it goes from here, I guess.
People have apparently been cancelling their PS Plus subscriptions.
Well, people, I mean, it's up to...
Which you should do. Which you should do anyway, because to be honest, it's too fucking expensive for just playing multiplayer. Really. I mean, my subscription carried over without me even asking to, and they like took the money out of my PlayStation thing, and I just went, "You fucking pieces of shit!" And the thing's on special offer, and you did it to me at full price. You renewed me at full price, and I literally straight away there and then went off, auto renew off.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. Never paying full price for that service.
Well, you shouldn't have to pay to play online anyway on any
No, you
service.
shouldn't.
No. You know, an Xbox started that, and obviously Sony copied Xbox with that.
But then Xbox are worse because they they turn your dashboard into a fucking advertisement billboard.
Yeah.
At least Sony don't do that.
No. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on then. I have played a couple of games this week, so I'm just going to talk about a few. New release this week on Game Pass, which another game that had a little bit of controversy this week, funnily enough.
All right, yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
EUI, I don't know how to pronounce this. Eiyuden Chronicles.
Yeah, Eiyuden Chronicle. I think it's just easier to say.
So, this is meant to be the spiritual successor to what was that PS1 game? I fucking
Suikoden.
Yeah.
Or Suikoden. Or
yeah. There's been two of them, hasn't there, on the PS1? Suikoden 1 and 2. Yeah, I never played them, and
they're legendary.
Yes, and I have heard that I have missed out. So obviously it's on Game Pass, which I'm very pleased about. I've played only about 3 hours of it this week, so I've not played it a lot. Obviously, because as you can tell, I'm still ill, and I've had just a rough week of just going to bed early and feeling sorry for myself. So, art style, I really like the art style. It's like a 2.5D, which is quite nice. It has like a proper world map, and you explore that and go into the villages. It's very retro in the aspect that it has turn-based combat, but the way you go into battle is like Final Fantasy 6 and 7, so it's all random battles. So you just be walking around the world map or the area, and then a battle will just happen. I quite like that because it's very retro. And also it's very retro in aspects. So you start the game, and it's like you get no waypoints or anything. It's basically you get to a point, and it's like, right, you're in charge of this group. You need to go and find some people to join the group. And it doesn't tell you how many or where to go or anything. So I spent probably 2 of those 3 hours just exploring the villages around the world map and talking to random people, and then getting them to join my group by doing tasks for them. Nice. So and I actually initially I was like, well, what am I meant to do? Where am I meant to go? I don't really get it. But then that kind of old school mentality in my mind just kicked in. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to not look online or anything like that. I'm just going to play it as it's meant to be played. And I just went exploring. And it was actually just really cool, to be honest. Because I just explored all the towns properly, spoke to everybody. You know, I found a guy who was fishing, and he gave me a fishing rod so I can go and fish wherever I want. And I got a load of people to join my group, and you know, a couple of them had certain things that I had to do for them to do, and which were like some other little side quests. And then I thought to myself, oh, I must have enough people now, because it doesn't say, because there's no pop-up saying, oh, you've got enough now, you better go back. I just thought, I think I've got enough. I'll go back.
Keep collecting.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll go back, but there's no waypoints. You need to remember what town you started at and where to go. So I went back, and then I spoke to the guy in the guild place. And he was like, "Yeah, you've got enough people now." And then this whole other story thing kicked in, and then you do get waypoints for all the other stuff, right? But I just liked that kind of there's no guidance for that bit. You just go and explore because that's just quite nice. And,
I take it it's is it very similar in the fact of the old games that you obviously collect a lot of these different random people you meet, but not all of them are actually people you can take out with you in a party in combat. Some of them just basically do menial tasks at your base.
I've not got that far yet, so basically
Right.
I've only got enough to fill up my party, because you can have 6 people in your party, and then there's another space in there saying reserves, but I've not got enough people to put in the reserves yet, so I'm not actually sure what that does. But it's quite cool because it's turn-based combat, so you've got like your 6 people, and they all have different special moves, and it has like your skill points, which build up, and then they can do special moves, and then you've got their MP, which is obviously their magic points, and different. You've got your classes, right? You've got like your soul, your warriors and your mages and your healers, yeah. But from what I've read about the game, obviously there's 100 playable characters you can switch in and out of your team. So that's going to get quite interesting because they all level up separately. Obviously, you need to buy them all weapons and armor and stuff. That's going to get quite expensive. So I'm quite intrigued to play the game some more to see what happens, because as I say, I'm super early in. But from what I've initially played, I'm finding it really good, actually. I'm really enjoying it. Now, before I played it, there was a little bit of controversy online regarding the translation from Japanese to English and some of the other languages. So I saw this and I was like, what? So basically, and this has happened on a few other games apparently, the translators have taken some liberties and not translated it properly to English, if that makes sense. So they've added some of their own just silly things into it instead of doing like proper translations. And one of the translators has gloated online about injecting, how shall we say this, his LGBT mindset into the game. So there's certain things. I mean, I haven't seen much of this yet, but I've seen the screenshots online, and there's some stuff like calling a character a chud. And I was like, what the fuck's a chud? I've never heard of this term before. And then it's basically a name that people call right wingers as an insult. And then there's something about
to these people, anyone who disagrees with their viewpoints is right wing because they're stupid.
And then there's some, apparently I mean, I've not seen this yet, but there's some terminologies where they've changed some of the pronouns in the game to like they thems and stuff like that, because apparently, like it says, well, how do you know that's a him? It's just a they because it's a dragon or something. I was like, what the fuck? That's weird, But there's some other bits and bobs that I've seen online, but I've not really, as I've been playing it, I've not seen any of that yet. Only one translation, which is really, it's just silly, where there's this girl character and she says flubberdub wubberlub a lot.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of that.
Yeah, and she says it all the time, and it's not a direct translation at all. But I just think, I just take it with a pinch of salt like that. It's just silly, you know what I mean? I've played so many JRPGs since the 90s that I do know that they don't all have proper translations, right? But
there's been some terrible ones. I think Nintendo had some where, rather than actually translating like a private moment between two characters, they just basically was staring at each other with like the dots.
Oh yeah,
for all their dialogue, because they couldn't be bothered to actually translate it.
That's funny as.
It always makes me laugh where you get certain people that are like, hey, some of this stuff doesn't transfer over properly and the humour's lost on people. And it's like, well, have a little asterisk. Tell people why there's a confusion over this. And also tell me why your job and what you do is way more difficult than what people used to do as a hobby for fan subs decades ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why, if you're in that profession, why you wouldn't just be like, right, my job is to translate this, and I'll do it. Why? If that was me, I'd just translate it. Like, why do you feel the need to inject your own morality or viewpoints or whatever into this translation and change it to suit you? That's not your job. You've got to be objective.
No, they have to be careful as well, because I think a lot of, during obviously all the people moaning about the translations for this, when I looked at any forum or post, about the game, their comments were flooded by people complaining to the actual developers and team about the horrible translations that they were getting.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people were doing that with anime as well, and some of those companies are now just turning to AI to translate stuff instead.
Yeah, so they're just going to push themselves out of a job. That's all they're going to do, because AI is smart enough to do that now.
AI is not reliable, though.
I mean, it's smart enough to do the text translations, but it wouldn't obviously, it can't do the voice, right? So...
Oh no, they just obviously do whatever with the voice stuff, but I don't know, because I don't listen to like English voiceovers anyway when it comes to anime.
Fantastic.
But apart from that controversy, I'm quite enjoying the game, to be honest. Because and I know people think, especially on the Discord, think I'm like some crazy right-wing conspiracy theorist guy, but try and have an open mind and just try and look past all that shit sometimes and just enjoy the games, especially if it's a good RPG. I mean, shit, that stuff still annoys me, but I'm still gonna fucking play a good game at the end of the day, so yeah, it's good. If you've got Game Pass especially, there's no reason not to try. I know you've bought it on the PlayStation, haven't you, Darren?
Yeah, because it was. I was tempted to start. Do I get it on the PlayStation or do I get it on the Switch? And then like the Switch one's more expensive.
Oh, and the Switch version's been absolutely panned as well, I think.
Is it?
In the reviews, yeah, I don't think it runs very well from what I've seen. Yeah.
Well, how actually old is the Switch now? Is it like almost a decade old?
Oh, it's fucking well old now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because obviously we're probably getting the Switch successor announced this year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to actually think which games I've got here that actually came out when it came out. So
yeah, the Switch version's got a 56 on Metacritic, and it's all just because it runs like arse.
Performance, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, which is, to look at it, it would be one of them games where you'd think that shouldn't have a problem or anything, because it kind of looks like it would run fine on a PS2.
Yeah. Well,
onwards, but obviously there's a lot of technical stuff going on with the rotating sort of 2.5D pixely stuff, isn't there?
But what's really weird about it, it's the only game where I turn it on my Series X, and it sounds like a jet engine is taking off.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't have any other game. It is so loud, and then I go to the menus. You press your guide button, you go through all your menus. So laggy, so laggy, and apparently it's a known issue because loads of people have been moaning about it in the review bit on the Xbox for the game. It's really weird. Like, it shouldn't be.
The young kids won't. Yeah, the kids wouldn't understand that anyway. They'd be like, "Oh no, it's fine. That's how everything is, isn't it?"
Yeah.
Be like, "No, it's not. Lag shouldn't be a thing."
Yeah.
I know your smart TV's laggy and everything else that's connected to the internet is probably laggy, but games shouldn't be.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's decent. So, yeah, give it a bosh.
Good. I will get around to it at some point.
Cool.
It is there, sitting on the old back burner.
Wait. Graham?
Yes. So, in the interest of being bang up to date, as I always am, last weekend I picked up a copy of Spider-Man 2, pre-owned. I've put 9 hours into it this week. Yeah, well, I paid about about £45 for it pre-owned off a selling ad. So,
all right, that's fair enough.
Now, I liked the first one, but I was very slightly mixed on it. And I would say that this game has actually taken all the things that I didn't like of the first one and actually made them worse.
Lols.
The set pieces are amazing. The graphics are just awesome. The traversal feels fun. I feel like they've wrecked the combat. Now, I was always a little bit mixed on the combat of the first one. It felt like Batman combat with 3 extra things bolted on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the drone and obviously whatnot.
The finishes and that's great. But then you get into this and you're fighting the same copy and paste bad guys over and over, and there's always one in the group that you can't attack unless you first parry. So, and I find that if you're in combat and things are getting hectic, people are firing guns, somebody is coming in with an unblockable attack that you have to parry. I just feel it's too much going on. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe my brain doesn't work in that way. But I feel it detracts from the flow of the combat. I really do. And what I quite liked I haven't played Miles Morales, but I might pick it up at some point.
Pretty decent,
the first one, I always found that with the first game, you weren't like so overpowered you didn't have to worry about it, but you could pretty much go into any combat situation, and if you were a little bit sort of paying attention and on your game, you could pretty much get through most battles fairly sort of competently without too much hassle. I find with this, if you're in a battle, you've got 2 people locked onto you with guns, there's an unblockable attack coming in, I have that moment of, right, shit, what do I do? Do I dive out the way or do I aim for the parry button? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just feel like I just feel like it's too many systems on top of too many systems to the detriment of the combat system.
You know what you need to play, Graham?
What's that?
Lies of P.
Do you know what? I actually tried it.
There's attack, defending, and perfect blocking, and that's all you have to think about.
I've got Game Pass, and I did very briefly dip into it with a view to going back to it, but I need to go back to it, I think. So yeah, I'm glad
it a lot easier after juggling all that.
But it's one of those games. When PS5 came out, I wasn't in a position to buy one, and I thought this is the game that I really want to play. It was one of my favourites on the PS4, probably behind Ghost of Tsushima was my favourite, I think, on PS4. I honestly wouldn't change anything on that game, I don't think. But the combat here just feels a little bit cluttered, and the enemies feel a bit too generic. Do you know? It's just, oh, here we go. There's a crime going on. Oh my God, it's these guys again. Do you know? And it's just every time I see them, my heart sinks because it's exactly the same formula. You get like 6 grunts, 2 of the people with the sort of the twin scimitars that you can't block unless you parry, and 1 of the brute guys, and then probably a couple of drones. And it just makes the combat less enjoyable from my point of view, honestly. So in keeping with the old man grumbling hour, I was quite excited for this game, but I've played it and I'm moderately disappointed. It does some things really, really well. Obviously, on the PS5, it loads super fast. You can get anywhere really quickly. But I just feel the combat just has slightly too much going on for my taste, honestly.
Fair dues, mate.
Yeah, so I think I'm about 30 or 40% through the storyline, and I'm just going to blast through it. I mean, I've played about 10 hours in a week, I think. So I'm gonna finish it, and I'm probably gonna trade it in or something, or sell it on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It'll hold its price fairly well, obviously.
I think
games generally do.
Yeah, they do, don't they, on PS5? I think so. Well, I'm going to sort of blast through it. If I can get finished on it by next weekend, then I might take it to wherever, CEX or whatever's near me, and just see how much they'll give me for it. Maybe get something else.
Cool, mate.
Yeah, had real potential, but yeah, just a few too many niggles for me, really.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Darren?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I might as well talk about Stellar Blade then.
Yay!
Where to start? So, after playing the game for a few hours, you can kind of see exactly why Yoko Taro is a huge fan of this game.
Yeah.
Because the developers basically, I wouldn't say ripped off, but they went down a hell of a lot of the kind of human cybernetic robots, kind of dystopian future thing. This is, it's bleak. The game is bleak, like for what's it? So the previous humans are known as basically previous organic humans. So the humans that are kind of alive now, I think, are mostly a mixture of like cybernetics and other stuff. Because surprise, surprise, humans created like robots and AI, and then they went at war with each other. Because you know that's going to happen at some point. And obviously, this game takes place in like the Fallout years later, where people known as angels, which come from something known as the Mother Sphere, basically come down to Earth to protect the remnants of humanity that's still surviving there. There's been multiple waves before your character turns up in one, obviously recently, that generally if you've played the demo, you know it goes to shit pretty quick. And you play Eve and you team up with Adam. I know, a bit of a right on the nose there, isn't it?
Adam and Eve.
Yeah. Progress through the area from the demo, and you'll eventually come to someone else that you've seen from the trailers as well. And then you'll get, straight after that, you get taken to your first sort of like your main town hub, where you've got all your different bits and bobs there. You speak to people, you progress throughout this world, basically collecting energy canisters which you're feeding into a machine to keep people's memory cores alive, basically in like a big cryo sleep unit. And the more of these you pick up, which is kind of cool, the more people start populating the area you're in, because obviously some of them are being woken up from the sleep. You can fully go around this area accepting side quests. You've got bulletin boards, other various bits and bobs. So the RPG-ish kind of stuff is there. It's almost like this game very much reminds me of a game from last gen, or the gen before, say the 360 PS3 era.
Okay.
Where you get a ton of games kind of like this, where it's like it's a sort of semi-linear, but you've got certain parts of the world that are open and you can go around and explore at your own desire. And then you can go around like a hub area collecting side quests and side missions, which will send you back off into the open areas to do extra tasks. I will say to people, if you're worried you've missed stuff in levels you've previously been to, you can go back there whenever you want.
Oh, that's good.
So you've got the option to travel back to, because I finished the first area and I was like, hold on, I'm missing 4 memory sticks, and I'm pretty sure I went around the whole area, and there was a whole area I couldn't access because it said I didn't have the right thing for it, which I didn't get until like much more hours into the game, which meant I could then go back to that first area, do something, and then open up a whole new part of the level, which was kind of cool. The monster designs in it are fantastic, I will say. As far as how they look and act. The combat itself, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. So in part, it's really good, it's really slick, it's really fluid. In other parts, it feels like the parrying is slightly off, just ever so slightly. Or the enemies do the attacks so quick, you haven't got time to actually react to parry them.
Okay.
So you have to deal with certain attacks that can be, again, it's kind of irritating. You deal with certain attacks that have to be perfectly parried. You also have to deal with certain grab attacks that have to be dodged, where you skip round behind them. I don't know if you remember that from the demo when you played it. Like Blink, I think it's called, where you sort of like disappear and quickly reappear behind them to attack them in the back. And then you've got another one which you use to counter fatal attacks, which is like the purple or pinkish sort of glow that an enemy will do when it attacks. And they all have certain ways to be countered. Now, the only one that is actually good to pull off is the perfect parry, because the other two, Blink and the fatal attack ones, when the enemy glows, you can't do the counter to it until your character glows as well. So it kind of puts you slightly off. So the enemy will be glowing. Now you do it. But yet your mind, from playing so many other games, when an enemy glows a certain colour, you're like, right, push the button, and you fuck up every time if you play it like that. Which is kind of weird. I did mention this when I played the demo, and I'm slowly getting used to it, but it still catches me out far too much, and it's kind of irritating. There's also attacks that you learn in your skill tree, which give you, when you perform a perfect parry, you can counter-attack using this button. Big problem, a lot of the enemies are like, so you don't ever get the chance to really do that counter-attack with the perfect parry, because if you do, you're going to get wrecked. Which, again, seems pointless. It's like, why have an attack that is supposed to block this and then let me get some hits in when it doesn't, because they're just relentlessly hitting me? It's quite, unless it's only meant for certain enemies, but it doesn't actually tell you that. Like, normally, if you had a move, it'd be like, this is the move, this is how it works, and it works. Whereas it kind of does in some situations, doesn't in others. But then there's times when the combat is really good. The first-person shooting or the third-person shooting is really cool. Like, you know, when you turn your drone into like an arm cannon. There was an entire section of the game I went through for about half an hour, which I really enjoyed. Oh, the shitty fucking puzzle platforming that almost fucking made me spike my controller, because I love puzzle platforming in action RPGs and action games, where I literally didn't have access to my sword, so I was using the gun all the time, and I had to fight a boss in like that as well, and it was probably one of the most fun bosses to fight. Like, I was really enjoying myself. And then when I sort of got back and it's got my sword again, it's like, like, yeah, you can play through the game, I guess, like that before, but you're very limited on the ammo. So you can only carry, I think, like X amount of rounds in your gun, and when you're out, you have to go somewhere to replenish them. Whereas when you're in this area and you haven't got a sword, oh, pardon me, there's constant ammo all over the place, and the enemies you're shooting and damaging basically will drop ammunition as well. But yeah, some of the enemies have got like explosive things on them that you can hit to detonate to make the body parts fly off, and then it'll expose like a big bit in their head that you can just hammer with more bullets to do way more damage.
Nice.
And things. Music in the game is amazing. Like, it's probably the first time since the original Nier where I haven't heard a bad song yet that's actually come on in the game, and most of them are all vocal as well. There's so many
Isn't it the
different
same
vocal tracks
composer?
in this.
That's some.
Yes, he's involved somehow, but I'm kind of not too sure how fully involved he is. I mean, I'm gonna pick the soundtrack up when it comes out. But yeah, it's like you've just got this like weird melancholy sort of music going on, and sometimes it's sort of almost rocky and upbeat in other areas as well, where you're sort of going around. Yes, there is puzzle platforming. There is like an annoying bit where you've got to climb a fucking tower to turn it back on. And it was like sweaty palms everywhere because you're jumping onto these little droid things that are floating up and down and trying to cling onto stuff. And it has the same annoying character movement that I moaned about in Dragon's Dogma, where your character feels kind of clumsy when you're trying to turn them around and move them about. And your character also automatically climbs up on anything that's near them that's raised up. So you could be maybe going over, I wonder what's just over that ledge, and then your character's climbed up onto it, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? And if you don't turn them back around properly, they're going to bidify and fall off. So that's kind of annoying. So it's a really good game. I've been constantly compelled to play it because it's always got that, now I can go back to that area and do that mission for that person, or I can go and do that board quest for someone else. The shops and requests and things that you do for certain people don't necessarily just unlock currency and items in the game either. Like when you buy a certain amount of things off of the different vendors, they become more friendly to you, which offers you the chance to buy more goods off of them, which at the moment have been accessories and outfits for your character. And then once you've obviously got the blueprint for the outfit, you can take it back to your base camp, and provided you've got the materials, you can craft it. But they are literally just solely aesthetic. One of the things I didn't know that was actually in the game, which is kind of cool, is there's a hairdresser as well that you can actually unlock in the main hub, and you can change your character's hairstyle. I think there's about 15 different hairstyles. All of them have a ponytail, though. That's the only kind of annoyance. So it'd be nice if you could just remove the ponytail entirely, but I'm pretty sure that ponytail thing is part of the machinery that screws into the back of her head, so that's obviously why it's there.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a solid 8 out of 10 at the moment for me.
Good.
There's parts of it that are really, really good, and there's parts of it that are kind of old school frustrating.
Yeah.
But we shall see where we go. There's a few parts as well. I've only just unlocked double jump, which is something that I needed like way early on in the game, where you just like, I know, why won't you just jump up and grab this bloody ladder while you fading through it? And it's like, but it's because the game wants me to have double jump, and then it'll, look, yeah, it did. Shocking. But yeah, there is. I will say, if you get sweaty palms doing sort of like platforming and things on high ledges or chasms or things like that, where a single mistake can mean game over, then there's a lot of it in this so far.
Fantastic.
Oh man.
But going back to your base camp and using the phone, the vending machine, or any of the other things outside of sitting down will save your game. It's only sitting down and resting which respawns the enemies. So if you want to go back and move around, but you don't want to have to constantly fight all of the enemies again, just make sure you try and do it without sitting down in a seat. You can sit down in seats that are dotted around outside of the camps, which will grant you health back, but it won't refill your flasks, and it won't respawn the enemies either.
Right.
And yes, you also have tons of collectibles dotted around that are actually useful. They're either diaries that explain information about the world, the weird religious cults that are going on. Some of the actual humans in the colony don't like the Mother Sphere or the angels, which sort of like come from it. And also you can pick up items that do the classic, collect 3 of these and it increases your health bar. Collect 3 of these and it'll increase your abilities bar. Because obviously when you perform attacks against enemies, you build up something called, is it battle meter or something or other? But yeah, you use that to activate your sort of super abilities that do a hell of a lot more damage.
Cool. That sounds
Nice.
really good.
Yeah. The other downside is playing this. Obviously, whenever the enemies die, they obviously drop loads of stuff, and you hold down the right trigger to pick it up. If you've got it on auto loot, I would. Otherwise, you've got to do it each individual one. And I was playing another game I'll talk about later on where the right trigger is attack, and every time I went to pick something up, I was like smashing my mate in the face with an axe. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "It's not my fault, mate. Look, I've been playing Stellar Blade." But yeah, that'll do for that. I've put about 16 hours into it so far, but I've been kind of doing my usual thing of go to an area, do everything I can, move to the next area, do everything I can, do all the side quests in that area before moving on to the next bit.
Yeah.
And the usual sort of thing.
Cool.
Oh, the other thing that's actually kind of cool, I will actually say, the actual collectible thing in the game that you're generally trying to find is drinks cans.
Oh right, I was seen something about these drinks cans.
Yeah, so whenever you pick up a drinks can, they've all got like a different design on them, and you'll see your like the evil just bend over, pick it up, and turn around to the camera and do like a smile pose, like holding the drinks can.
Yeah.
And the more of those you pick up, it unlocks bits and bobs. But if you collect all of them, you get like a ultimate lingerie outfit.
Ooh, that sounds
kind of
good.
thing. And yes, you can actually get an ability that you can tack onto your drone, which will then allow him to notify you when there's one in range that can be found. Because you've got a scanner and stuff in the game that you can use to scan enemies. And yeah, you can upgrade the drone as well. You can upgrade your arm cannon. You can upgrade your character. You can have more gear slots to put in. I haven't upgraded my spine yet, because it looks like you can have 2 spinal column additions, and I've only got 1 at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a hell of a lot more to it than I originally thought when I first saw the trailers for the game back in there.
Yeah.
When it just looked like a typical sort of move from point A to point B in levels kind of hack and slash type of game.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I've not really played much else, to be fair. I mean, I've played a little bit of a few things. So today I jumped on Counter-Strike 2 for a bit. Still a good game, and if anyone wants to play it with me, that would be amazing. Still doing me weeklies on GT7, so that's pretty cool. My most played game, really, though, is Balatro, and I've talked about this quite a bit.
The card game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't won a run yet. Oh no, I'm shit at it, and I keep on getting stick for it. I will win a run at some point, but I'm just enjoying it. It's very chill. Just play it on the Steam Deck. It's good. Now I've got written down as well that oh no, I did talk about this last week. Botany Manor. I talked about completing, didn't I? Oh,
Yeah.
that's not right. I'm reading it wrong because I'm not well. Manor Lords.
Oh, mate, have you picked it up?
It's on Game Pass on PC.
Is it nice?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
apparently I've heard that this game has sold over 1 million copies already.
Yeah.
Even though it's in early access, and it's also the most popular or the most concurrent players in a city builder on Steam to date.
Wow. Yeah, it's got very positive on Steam. Now, I'm going to preface it saying I've literally played it for about 30 minutes. It's not really my kind of game, to be fair. So I just wanted to say I have downloaded it, yes. I have not played it much. It looks interesting because it is, you start off as you remember like those old like Age of Empires games?
Yeah, this is what it is basically.
Yeah,
Like,
so you start off with like 5 people in this tiny village, and then you got to gather resources, build up your, and build up into a town and build up your armies, and then you can see the whole map, and then you can go and conquer other territories. It looks good, like the graphics look good, but I just find like the reason I turned it off is just because I found the controls a little bit confusing. So like on these sort of games, you can hold down like left on the mouse button and drag, and it does like a box.
yeah.
And it selects all your characters. You can't do that. So I couldn't even figure out how to select multiple people or anything.
There must be a way.
Yeah.
It's probably just slightly different.
Yeah. So I just want to say I've initially played it. I can't figure it out yet. But the graphics look nice, and I will play it properly this week. But mainly, I just wanted to let people know that if you've got Game Pass Ultimate and you're a PC gamer, it is available on Game Pass on PC. So you don't need to actually buy it on Steam, because on Steam it is £27 while it's on offer.
That's still not bad.
And then when the offer ends, it's 35 quid. So,
That's still decent.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to badmouth it because I've not played it enough to give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, but these generally aren't my sort of games, but it looks pretty, and I'm sure once
I thought you kind of liked your Rome and all that kind of stuff, your Total War-ish kind of
I haven't played them.
stuff.
I kind of fell off them ages ago. I don't know why. Because back in the olden days, I used to love the Age of Empires games. I don't know. I just got to be in the mood for it, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's there, and it looks good. So I just wanted to say that. So I'm just going to rattle off now because I want to give my throat a rest in a minute. So started Jedi Survivor. That's on Game Pass as well.
Yeah.
The newer one.
Yeah, the graphics look really good, and it plays exactly the same as the first game. With all the climbing and it's a bit like Dark Souls where you rest at like this rest spot and all the enemies respawn and that. I played it for about an hour. It's decent. I mean, I really love the first one, so I will play through this. And my boy's really into Star Wars at the minute as well, so he's enjoying watching me play that. And then the only other 2 games I played is some Helldivers with Peebs on Friday, which was good. And I think I mentioned this last week. Really into Dave the Diver on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
Still playing that a lot. I'm playing it mainly with Marcus, and we're taking it in turns, just exploring the ocean and doing the little mini game of selling the sushi at the bar. it's a really fun game. So yeah, that's it. That's all I've played. Sorry, I didn't want to I didn't want to talk for too much tonight because my throat is fucked. So I'm going to go back to Graham now. Thank you.
No.
Well, after you mentioned it last week, I also have downloaded Dave the Diver.
Ah.
And I don't. It's kind of my little go-to 10 minutes game. Do you know what I mean? If I've got 10 minutes, I just want to play something. I give it a try, and I sort of have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. I am enjoying it, but I do get quite frustrated at some points with it. I mean, you've probably played it a hell of a lot more than me. I've not quite played it enough to get waiting staff because I find that Dave gets a little bit overwhelmed quite quickly. I don't know if you found this. He's not the fastest, is he, at getting the food out of the kitchen?
No, because he's a fat bastard.
Exactly. So I'm at the point where I'm just trying to work out how to get the mission bagged so I can do the shark, so I can unlock basically waiting staff to give Dave a hand, because I'm at the stage where the restaurant is so busy. Dave really isn't up to the job, I would say. Being polite, he can't do it. So I'm sort of, yeah. It's one of those where it's strangely relaxing, and the more you play it, the more you want to have just one more go. So in that respect, I think it definitely does. It definitely does the job. But I do have minor frustrations with it at some points. But I'm sure that's kind of the gameplay loop. Is you're going to upgrade your character, you're going to get better, your gear's going to improve, etc., etc. You know, it's going to be one of those games that as you do your upgrades, then I think, you know, it's going to sort of basically it's going to get easier to a degree. Do you know what I mean? So
because one of the things that we did was one of the upgrades for more air, because obviously it runs out quite
the
quick,
longer you stay there.
You can get better equipment to make you go deeper. So that's quite good. You get more guns because there's like this weird gun guy. So you get blueprints, and then you go on the app on your phone, and it's just really cool. It's done really cool on the pixel art, the way, you know, everything's done.
Definitely.
With the gun upgrades and stuff, and then sometimes when you're in the ocean, like these little missions pop up. So there's these dolphins will come and need rescuing.
Yeah. Done a couple of them,
cool. Yeah. But yeah, for the sharks,
it's interesting. Yeah,
it's a good fun game, man. It really is.
It's just a bit different. And I had the PS. I mean, I had the PS Plus Extra running, so I sort of went off and grabbed it and downloaded it, and I've sort of been dipping into it when I don't want to play anything too sort of time intensive. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a quick blast for 20-30 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But no, definitely worth a look, I think. Interesting.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I've only played one more game this week. I don't know if you want me to talk about it now or wait until after Darren.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, no, go for it, and then I'll just end up on.
Well, it's a game I have talked about before. I was playing it on Game Pass, but I happened to notice that it was on PlayStation Plus Extra. I've jumped back into Prodeus. I only got about 5 levels into it on Game Pass, and then it got taken off the service. So I sort of thought, well, I'm probably not going to rush out and buy it. But if you don't know, it's what they refer to, I think, as a boomer shooter. So it's basically a first-person shooter game as if it was made in like 1990 something.
Like Doom, it's kind of sort of style.
Yeah, it feels very much like alternative Doom. So it sort of goes for the retro aesthetic. Everything is very pixely. You can get scan lines
That's cool.
You can have sort of So I mean, you can tweak the settings. There's all kinds of things that you can change. You can play the game, I think, in like 240p with like native scan lines to get that real kind of gritty, crappy sort of visual
It also
style where it's
shrink
all
it down to like a 14-inch screen picture.
but the thing with this game, without the risk of sounding like a real complaining old man, it just feels it's just straight ahead. You pick up ammo, you shoot things, you get to the exit, you go to the next level. There's no currency. There's not really much in the way of upgrades. I mean, obviously you can buy different weapons. You can buy new weapons, but it's ridiculously over the top. You go into a room, you open fire with a minigun, and everything explodes in a cloud of red mist. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. You have
in the best way.
Stuff. If you hit guys with explosives, you have bits dripping down from the ceiling. It's insane. It's like, what if Doom had some of the 3D technology that we have now, and it's sort of very much in the classic gameplay style. No frills. Go in with big guns and just shoot things. The only thing I would say about it, the map's a little bit incomprehensible, but I think some of the level design is actually quite good, and it has quite. You can actually, I think it's got PC crossplay, and a lot of people have created levels, and there is a community section, so people have remade levels from Doom. From Quake, from like Duke Nukem, people have recreated maps from other games as well as their own, and you can download them, play them, share them, and you can give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and that sort of shows where they appear in the list for people searching and things like that.
That's pretty cool.
But no, it's like I say, it's on PS Plus Extra, the middle tier. I mean, I don't think it's an expensive game. I think it's like a 20 quid game or something. But if you enjoyed games like Quake and Doom, it's it's worth having a go on. Really, is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's about all I've played this week, really. So
cool, man. Darren, have you played anything else? Or you...
Yeah, I have been playing Remnant 2's The Fallen Kingdom DLC.
Ooh.
With a friend, hence the game that I was burying my axe into his face. So the first DLC, The Forgotten King, took place in Lossum. This DLC takes place in Yaesha, which is kind of like the foresty area. And it seems reasonably big, to be honest. The dungeons that we did actually have that were reused, because I think there's usually one or two which are randomised through the actual playthrough itself, had a different look to them, and also different enemies on the stages as well that were obviously relevant to the DLC. So there's a lot of new enemy types that they've added, like magic pots on legs and sort of statues that come to life, flying pieces of shit that are basically like, not literally flying pieces of shit, but when you fight them, you'll call them pieces of shit, because they just literally throw shit at you and dive bomb you continuously from the sky, and then when they land, they'll scream, which causes your character to sort of like not be able to do anything because they're covering their ears. I enjoyed it. It was reasonably long. One of the levels on it sort of actually went on for quite some time, but it was a bit of a frustrating level. It was kind of one where you're doing like a trials gauntlet that young people from the tribe used to do to test their mettle. So it's like dodging through chainsaw blade or sort of circular saw blades and avoiding arrows being shot out of walls at you and stuff whilst you stand on a certain stone to lift the gate, and then you've got to try and get through the end before the gate shuts. Otherwise, you've got to go back to do it again, and then again, and then again. Yeah. So there's a few bits there that are kind of weird. The actual areas themselves look really nice. They're all sort of bathed in this sort of like almost Avatar-esque sort of like luminescent glow. The flowers and stuff having that. There's obviously new weapons to find, new mods, mutators. There's a new class which we haven't actually found yet, which is bizarre because the one in the previous DLC was reasonably easy to find. And the music's nice as well that they actually used for it.
Oh, excellent.
And it all goes down a new... If you've ever played the main game, there's little story threads that are sort of like drip fed to you while you're doing some of those playthroughs, because usually each playthrough in one of the set areas has one of two different storylines that can happen. Each meaning a different end world boss, whereas this is just one on its own, but some of the little things you hear during those original playthroughs usually play out in the DLCs, and it's kind of the same here. So this deals with basically what happened to the lost tribe of the Pan, which you will have heard a few people probably talk about while you were going through in the game. The final boss was actually kind of cool. At one point it kind of does an attack sequence that's a bit annoying, but then it was actually kind of interesting to see that it ended on a DPS check. Which, is kind of interesting in theory, because you don't usually get many shooters do the old DPS check finisher. The kind of thing that's usually something that's reserved for like MMOs, etc.
Yeah.
Probably have done in Destiny. I imagine that's probably done it, but there we go. But yeah, I enjoyed what it was. I think if you're buying it separately, if you haven't got the actual pass, it's like $7.99, I think, which seems fairly decent. To be honest, for the price.
Nice, mate.
So yeah, there's that. And I haven't played it, but I have installed Fallout 4 again.
Like everyone
because,
else.
because obviously they released the update for PS5 and Xbox, which I've heard hasn't really fixed a lot, and it's broken mods and a few other things on the PC version as well, hasn't it?
Yeah,
apparently
which
so.
I know a lot of people are moaning about. There's already people posting up glitch videos and sort of like hacks you can do to quickly level yourself up. But yeah, I mean, I had the game on the PS4 because I bought it on the PS4 back in the... because I thought I'd probably be spending more time on there rather than playing it on the Xbox. So
yeah,
I had it on there. So I installed it obviously to the PS5, and then when you're on the game tile for it, it has a pop-up that says upgrade to the PS5 version. But for every game that does that, you end up with two things on your dashboard. So you have Fallout 4 there twice, once for the PS5 and once for the PS4.
Even if you uninstall the PS4 version, though.
Oh, you can. But then when you put the disc back in to play the PS5 version, because obviously it says like, oh, you own the game, but you're going to need to pop the disc in every time you play it. Every time you put the disc back in, PS4 version appears on your fucking thing again.
For fuck's sake.
So you end up with double menu on your dashboard, and apparently this has been an issue with every game that does that.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
And Sony have never bothered to fix it, where you can just like it will install obviously like 130 something kilobyte thing for the dashboard icon.
Right.
The game itself isn't obviously installed on there, and it won't do that unless you move across to it and select copy. But it has that thing, but there's no option to sort of have hide PS4 version from the dashboard. So every time you every time you play it and come out, you just have to go across to the PS4 tile and just go delete, which is it's kind of just irritating rather than anything else. I mean, if it required you to have both versions fully installed, that would be absolutely ridiculously bad. But I don't know how they really get around it because it technically is another version's one, whereas on the Xbox it's just Xbox, isn't it? It just upgrades to whatever version.
Yeah.
So they don't actually get that issue. But yeah, that's just a small little peeve about it. But yeah, after playing Skyrim and getting suckered back into that, which I have been playing again this past week, I think I'm about 130 hours in again now.
Wow.
It's Skyrim. You just get lost, isn't it?
I know. It's so good.
But yeah, I mean, part of me did have the urge to obviously like the Fallout fever, and like even though I hate Fallout 4 like more than any of the others, like it's the worst one. It was still having that little thing of I just want to go in and shoot some things in vats in slow mo and explore the wasteland kind of thing.
Yeah.
Also, if you are using the PS4 version and upgrading to the PS5, you'll get a whole new batch of trophies, or you'll get to double dip on your trophies or so.
Oh, Peeves will be excited now.
Yeah. But yeah, reading up, it doesn't look like you can kind of really avoid all the settlement stuff, though.
No, you
which
can't.
is
No.
a bit annoying. Which, if you speak to most people's frustrations and annoyances with the game, that's usually number one, the settlement stuff. Because even when I was speaking to the bloke at work about it, he was like, which one's that? And I said, the one with the settlements. And he went, oh, yeah, the one when you're in the middle of a mission and it comes up telling you your settlement's under attack and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. And I was like, yeah, that's the one. And he was like, yeah, shite.
Yeah. No, I did reinstall it on my Xbox. I've not played it though because I've already double dipped it on my PC before.
You should give it a go on the Steam Deck because apparently it's Steam Deck verified. This new update version of it.
I don't know, man. I've kind of fallen out of that Fallout fever already because I watched a telly show, and then I was playing New Vegas for just over a week. Then just kind of fell off it, and now I'm just like, meh. I've moved on now. There's new games I want to play.
New Vegas was all about. I remember one of my happiest moments from New Vegas was pretty much running from the starting zone to the outskirts of Vegas Strip with an upgraded varmint rifle with like the scope and the silencer and all that lot on it, just popping things crazy with it. It was just like my favourite gun. Until it obviously wasn't good enough for death claws and things like that, particularly.
So yeah,
that's me done anyway.
I think that's going to happen to a lot of people. Get all excited for Fallout again after watching the show, but then after a couple of weeks, just be like, I'm bored now. I'm going to move on. You know, that's what I think. Yeah. That's what I think is going to happen because it's happened to me already. But you know,
I mean, it is nice to bring people back to obviously experience stuff, and to be honest, going back to a lot of the old games from like 8 plus years ago or whatever, it's almost been kind of refreshing because it's like, this is how games used to be made.
Yeah, they used to be good.
Yeah, used to be a full game with like nothing extra there, no day one patch.
Yeah, good old days, eh?
No constant screeching online. I mean, there generally was, I guess, with certain things, but not like there is now. Nowhere near like there is now. I mean, obviously, going back briefly again, sorry to take it back to the classic Stellar Blade bollocks. And obviously at the start you said, certain journalists, blah, blah, blah. Back in the day, when I was like 15 or 16, I applied to CVG magazine.
Nice.
For a work placement or possible job. Because I was like obviously really into gaming and graphic design and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And this was when they were based in Bath. Like a hell of a lot of, I think most of Future Publishing's like magazines and stuff were all based in Bath.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I spoke to someone, and it might on the phone, because this was back in the day when you could ring up an office and actually speak to people.
Yeah.
And I spoke to maybe like Richard Ledbetter, the guy from Digital Foundry now.
Oh, yeah.
Glasses.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with him for about 15, 20 minutes about the magazine industry and all this kind of stuff. And he actually said, like, this was like way back in the 90s, that even then they were getting a lot of people jumping into gaming publications and magazines at the moment because it's kind of like the new hip thing that's interesting.
Right.
And a lot of people are actually using that to get work experience in magazines before jumping on and doing actual proper journalism and other stuff.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yes, that does happen. People
Oh.
in certain publications using it just as a foot up to get into like more politically known sort of like publications or stuff that deals with other things rather than gaming.
Yeah.
So, and I was told this like 30 years ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I'm guessing that happens, but there's certain American people, I'm not going to call them journalists because they're not, who have moved from site to site and even started up their own podcasts, and they try and get all political because they bring all their politics into it, but at the end of the day, they're still talking about video games. They haven't moved on, you know.
I mean, don't get me wrong, gaming is a passion for a lot of people.
Yeah. Of course
But
it is.
yeah,
Well,
just let games be games at the end of the day. Yeah, everyone likes games, regardless of which life.
Yeah. Hello? I think we've lost Aaron. He's disappeared. Are you there, Graham?
Yeah,
Well,
was
that's
there
connection.
any news or anything like that?
Yeah, oh sorry, I lost you guys for about 10 seconds there. It was all quiet.
Yeah, so
That's all right. No,
I just
I
went
was
dead.
probably just bizarre.
No,
Anyway.
no, we haven't got any other news or anything, no.
Oh.
Because I talked about most of it at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
There's the little controversy stuff. I wonder what will be this week's main topic. Probably the Stellar Blade stuff will continue to snowball as it does.
More than likely, mate. Yeah. More than likely. Well, I think we're done then, dudes, already.
That's good. You said you wanted a nice little short one.
Yeah, I just want to go to bed
rest your voice
tonight. Yeah. Oh, well, we're lucky we didn't record last night because my throat was on fire and I just couldn't. I could hardly talk. And then when I texted you guys this morning, I was just like, I don't know if I can record. My throat is fucked. But throughout the day, when I've been nursing myself with all these medicines,
honey lozenges and stuff.
I actually went out and bought some Manuka honey.
Do they still sell lockets? I imagine they do.
Yeah,
they do, yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm actually, I can talk, but it's still sore, but not as sore as it was this morning for sure. So, yeah, getting there, mate. I think next week I'll be all good for next week's show. So, all good.
Nice.
And then hopefully I'll feel like gaming because I say all this week I've just felt like shit. I mean, we jumped onto Battlefield in the week because we do like a weekly Thursday Battlefield session, and I literally only lasted an hour. It hit 10 o'clock and I was like, guys, I've got to go to bed. I just feel so shit. So I had to abandon my comrades in arms and go to bed. That's how poorly I've been. So, yeah.
On the road to recovery.
Yeah, getting there.
Oh yeah. Trying to think. Yeah, the not far off of all the annual disappointment stuff again, aren't we?
Oh, E3 stuff.
Yeah.
That's not E3, but yeah, all that stuff will be interesting. I just we've had quite a few good games out the past few weeks. It's just
we've had some good games out this year, full stop.
Oh yeah, I just haven't been out, and this is why I haven't purchased Stellar Blade, because obviously Eiyuden Chronicles to play, Also, Persona 3 to play.
Reloaded or reload.
Oh, I forgot to talk about a game I played this week.
Sandland?
Oh.
I have it, but I haven't played it.
The Final Fantasy 16 DLC.
Oh, yes. Yeah, go for it quickly.
So last week I mentioned that I didn't know it'd come out. And then after the podcast, I downloaded it. And I've completed it. It's really well done, actually. It's not super long. It took me about 6 hours-ish, I would say, which isn't too bad. So it opens up a whole new portion of the map, and it's all story related as to why you go there and stuff. And it's, it's full on with a full main storyline, but it has all like loads of side quests as well. And they're all the side quests are all really good, actually, because they're kind of story. They all have their own little good stories. But it's done really weird because you have to get to this area by boat. And then I'm glad I did the side missions, because one of the side missions is pretty much to bring your chocobo across from the mainland on the boat. So if you don't do that side mission, you can't use your chocobo in the new area.
That's kind of interesting, though.
But it's all done into the story, if that makes sense. I don't want to say any more for people that might want to play it, but it's pretty cool. So that's good. But one of the things that I find weird is there were side missions to do with the Tomberries.
All right.
And like in the old Final Fantasy games, they're really small, aren't they? And they have the little knives.
Yeah.
Well, in this, they're like human size. And they look weird. And then there is a battle with the Tonberry King, and he's huge, and he has a giant bloody knife, like a machete thing, and it's mental. But
it's like a meat cleaver, isn't it? Or is
that's
it
what I was
like
say, like a meat cleaver.
Yeah.
That's that. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Whereas the other Tomberries have just like steak knives. And they can do a lot of damage. But the new area of the world is really well designed. It's very beautiful, very lush. I think I put some photos into. Oh no, I didn't. I did take some screenshots. I'll put them in the Final Fantasy chat on Discord when I remember later. Yeah, it's hard to talk about without ruining story stuff. But what I will say is, it's really well done. There's a new boss, Leviathan, to fight in it.
Yeah.
Which is really well done, and the story behind the person who is controlling the Leviathan is really well done as well. Because the way that it's done in this is they all have their own, like people have control of these powers for the different summons, the primals as they call them in the game. But this one's really interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And
have you? Sorry.
As I say, I did enjoy this more than the first DLC, because the first DLC was this tower, and all you did was the tower. Whereas this is a whole new area, as I say. It's very lush. It's quite big. It's all open world. Yeah, it's good. What were you going to say, Darren? I
was about to say, did you do the crossover thing in 14?
No, because I cancelled my sub. And I've not gone back on, so I've missed it probably now. So
it's still going. I think it's going until early May.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I say, if you resub for a month, that would probably be cheaper than like maybe buying the items if they go into the cash shop later. Because it's like I say, it's a mount, minion, and a full set of Clive's outfit.
Oh, that's cool. I might do that. Just because I've been so ill, man. I just haven't played anything. I've still got it installed on my Steam Deck as well, so it'd be easy enough to jump back on if I resub anyway.
Yeah, like I say, the quest was in Aldar opposite the Immortal Flames headquarters.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. But
it's still quite surprising, isn't it, how that development team was working on obviously patches for 14, a brand new expansion and a completely separate game with 2 DLCs.
Oh, it's mad, isn't it? It's absolutely mad. But I will say that obviously, because I played because Final Fantasy 16 came out last year. Then since then we've had 7 Rebirth, which I fucking love this year, and then this DLC's come out after 7 Rebirth. And going back onto this, it just reminded me how good this game is. Like, the graphics are fantastic. The combat's really fast and fluid, and just the characters are just so good. This just seriously is a really good Final Fantasy game. So
it will be coming to PC this summer, I think, or somewhere around then. It'll get announced, no doubt, during the gaming stuff in the next few months.
And then, so yeah, I want to just give a big shout out to 16 because it's fucking great and DLC is good. But before I played this as well, I downloaded Final Fantasy 15 onto my Steam Deck just to see how it ran.
Yeah, you said last week.
Yeah, Cindy. Brrr. But yeah, it's great. I can't, man, the weeks just blur into one, I forget.
I was just actually thinking, because obviously you've had a lot of people sort of saying, oh, are they going to remake some of the older Final Fantasies like 8 and 9, etc.
I don't think.
But even if they did, I think they will eventually. But they're going to finish all of the 7 stuff first.
Yeah.
I believe. And then, depending on how well that actually did for them across like the 3 games, they might decide to do a similar thing with 8 as well.
Yeah.
Because they could have gone into the school stuff a lot more in that. Because I don't remember them actually spending that long in it, and technically before it excels past that point.
Yeah. Great game. So yeah, that's all I played. And
nice.
The weeks, I say, the weeks have blurred into one. I've just been yeah. Cool. Right, I'm gonna end it here then because I want to go and chill out and just watch some shit TV and go to bed. So,
sounds good.
Mark Webb, Gamertag, PSNID, SteamID, Webby, 360 to the G.
And Graham or GHamOx14.
And Sensei Switch.
So from all of us here, it's been awesome. We will see you next week. Goodbye.